Well, this was a complete waste of time. All the way back in January of this year, I made a video discussing just how aggravated I felt with regards to trying to figure out what WB Montreal is doing with their upcoming Batman game. You can watch that video here if you feel so inclined, but the gist of it is that I felt very frustrated and honestly kind of insulted with how the studio was doling out information, because they really weren't. Now, yesterday there was supposed to be a big reveal of just what this next game is going to be. Fans were instructed to go to this web address and actual information would be there waiting for them. So being the loyal fan I am, I went to that website, and after entering the code, which I didn't realize was on their Twitter page until much later, I was greeted to this image. Like, what the hell is this? Is this a map? A map of what? It also said to come back tomorrow for more information, and I'm assuming that they're going to keep doing this all the way up to August 22nd, which is DC Fandom, the event where they're going to officially reveal all the information on this new Batman game. But at this point, I just think it's getting out of hand. You couldn't give us anything other than a portion of a mysterious map. You couldn't give us a title, a villain reveal, a promise that you're not going to drive the Batmobile in this one. I get wanting to save your big announcements for Fandom, but we already know that's coming this weekend. You don't have to keep stringing us along like this. We're gonna tune into it regardless of these stupid breadcrumb trails you give us. So at this point, all we really know about this game is that it's being developed by WB Montreal. It's not related to the Arkham Asylum series of games made famous by Rocksteady Studios, and it's going to involve the Court of Owls to some extent. And that last part we only know because the writer of the Court of Owls story accidentally tweeted it out. So it looks like we're not going to be talking about this newfangled game this week. I guess we could just talk about the Court of Owls themselves. That'd be good for the algorithm. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do this one. There you go, set dressing. The Court of Owls made their debut in 2011, created by artist Greg Capullo and writer and Long Island native Scott Snyder. They were the initial antagonists of the New 52 Batman series, and they were subtly hinted at in the very first issue. In issue 2, we were introduced to the Talons, the foot soldier assassins of the group. And in issue 3, we got the reveal of the court itself, and from there, we started to learn a little bit more about its history. The Court of Owls is a secret society made up of the oldest and wealthiest families of Gotham City. The court controls the city from the shadows, not necessarily through direct action, but more so as manipulating events to benefit their needs. The Court of Owls date back to the very founding of Gotham itself and have had a hand in all of the city's major events. Anything that they don't like or doesn't necessarily benefit them directly, they eliminate. And that is how Batman first came into contact with them. In the beginning of the Court of Owls story, Bruce Wayne announces that he plans to rebuild Gotham City, making it a grand new city for the 21st century. This angers the court, however, and they sentence Bruce Wayne to death. After a Talon fails to kill Bruce, and after Batman begins to uncover who the court actually is, they launch a full-scale attack against Batman, his closest allies, and the city. Fighting the Court of Owls is not an easy task for Batman and his team, as the court has their claws in just about every corner of the city. Talons just exist everywhere, and because they're virtually unkillable, it takes a lot more than the usual methods of fighting crime to stop them. And the actual membership of the court is very deep. Like I said before, it's made up of the oldest and wealthiest families in Gotham City, and with the resources they have, anything is possible for them. Now, no, this does not mean that the Waynes were members of the Court of Owls. I mean, obviously you're not going to have Batman's family be part of some nefarious secret underground society of bad guys, but the Grayson family is technically a part of the court. A man by the name of William Cobb was a Talon and also the great-grandfather of Dick Grayson. In fact, Dick's last name comes from a prophecy that the court has about their one true great assassin, the Gray Son, if you will, who would lead the court to greatness. The revelation that Dick Grayson was almost a Talon comes from one of the funniest pages I have ever seen in a Batman comic. This one. The entire Court of Owls saga is a critical and commercial success. It was a hit with fans and critics across the board. It is still hailed as the best story of the entire New 52 era, and it solidified Capullo and Snyder as the definitive Batman team of the decade. Now, if it sounded like I was kind of being vague with my description of the Court of Owls and just kind of giving out information piece by piece, not even giving you the whole story, that's intentional. I don't want to spend this video summarizing the entire Court of Owls saga. I want you to go out and actually read it and experience it for yourself, because it honestly is one of the best Batman stories of the past 10 years, maybe even the best. Snyder and Capullo didn't just create a cool new Batman villain, they added to the world of Batman itself by creating a mythology within a mythology. By integrating the Court of Owls into Gotham City at every aspect, from its history to its most powerful citizens, it turns the city on its head, presenting Batman with a world that he no longer recognizes. The Court of Owls don't just match him physically, but also mentally and psychologically as well. And the Court of Owls has become one of Batman's greatest adversaries, especially of the modern era. They would come back to haunt him in future stories like Batman Eternal, and they would even be a particular thorn in Dick Grayson's side in such stories like Robin War and The Grey Sun Legacy. So rather than sit here and recount the entire story for you, I highly recommend you go out and read it for yourself. Technically, the entire Court of Owls saga is made up of 3 different trades. There's Court of Owls, which is the first half of the story. There's City of Owls, which is the second half. And then there's The Night of the Owls, which takes place in between the two and focuses on the Court of Owls' all-out assault on Gotham City in one night and how the entire Batman family tries to stop them. Since their debut, the Court of Owls has proven to be popular enough to get adapted into various different media outside of comics. They appeared on a few episodes of Gotham, remember that show? They once got confused for an underground sex dungeon on Harley Quinn, and their most prominent role was probably the direct-to-video animated film Batman vs. Robin, which takes elements from the Court of Owls story and also Grant Morrison and Andy Clark's Batman vs. Robin comic book arc. In terms of video games, a Talon does appear as a playable character in LEGO DC Supervillains, but now the Court itself is set to be one of the main antagonists of WB Montreal's mysterious new Batman game. The idea of a Batman game involving the Court of Owls in a major capacity is actually a great idea. The Court is probably the most video game ready adversary Batman has, next to the League of Assassins. Of course, you can do typical video game stuff like have the Talons be the typical henchmen that you fight along the way, and the mythology of the Court is so rich that it lends itself to things like Easter eggs and secrets, with enough left over for a potential sequel. But even beyond that, the Court of Owls really does lend itself very well to a lot of potentially great level designs and gameplay mechanics. One of the most popular chapters of the original story featured Batman getting lost in the Court's underground labyrinth of a hideout. But not only that, Batman is also drugged and starts to suffer from severe hallucinations. In the comics, this was famously showcased by having readers actually turn the page upside down and sideways in order to understand what was happening in the story, kind of mirroring Batman's fractured state of mind. It's a very simple trick, but it works very, very well. And no, I don't necessarily consider that a spoiler, because saying that happens and actually experiencing it are 2 completely different things. Things like this have happened in Batman games previously. Arkham Asylum famously had the Scarecrow sections where Batman's perception of reality is all warped and twisted, but in my eye, the Court of Owls is the right antagonist to take this concept to the next level. Now, this upcoming WB Montreal game, which is rumored to be called Batman Gotham Knights, is apparently going to be about a bunch of different factions vying for control of Gotham City. In addition to the Court of Owls, this also includes the League of Assassins, the Gotham City Police Department, and who knows who else. In the comics, the Court typically doesn't get involved in gang war type things like that, where they all try to control Gotham, but it's the perfect story for them, really. It makes more sense for them to want to control Gotham City rather than some outside force like Ra's al Ghul or whoever. After all, they were Gotham City before Batman came along, and this game might be the perfect opportunity for them to try and seize that control back. But of course, Batman's not gonna have that, and I guess that's where we come in as the player. Unless we don't play as Batman, unless we get to play as a Talon or a member of the Court of Owls. That would actually be really cool. announce that game on Sunday or Saturday, whenever the stupid thing is. So there you go. That's who the Court of Owls are, and that's how they could potentially fit into the next Batman video game. But what do you think? Are you excited for the Court appearing in a game, or what do you think they should do in order to antagonize Batman in this upcoming game? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. Can you just imagine for a second if this game wasn't going to be based on the Court of Owls in any capacity? That would suck, right? I mean, again, we only really know that because Scott Snyder screwed up, but imagine if they took the Court out because of that, and I did this whole video for nothing. Fun. If you want to read about the Court of Owls for yourself, I'll have Amazon affiliate links in the description below to all of the Court of Owls comics you're going to want to read before the game comes out. And don't forget that we have new videos on this channel every single Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. So subscribe to see all of that, like this video, and share it with a friend who isn't really too sure about who the Court of Owls is. I mean, it's fair, they're only about 10 years old, a little less than that, but I feel like pretty soon they're gonna want to be in the know. So thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. Wash your hands, wear a mask, you know the drill. Not this mask though, the proper one.